Start recording.
I feel special.
No worries.
We
Happy
feel
belated.
special, Carla.
Sweet. So Mason, real quick, I wanted to ask you because I recently seen a Facebook post that you made, whether it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I was traveling when I seen it though, but you were kind of like making a post about letting people know that the type of deals that you were looking for. And then one of the things that was super eye-catching was the fact that you have a vetting process disclosed before people even submit deals to you.
Dude, it's one of those things where it's like you can kind of identify who's going to waste your time in the long run really, really
Mm-hmm.
quickly. And it was on the post that Nicholas shared where I mean I had my criteria like not crystal clear, but like pretty decently high level. And someone commented like, "Are you interested in 2 acres in California or something like that?" And I'm like,
That is crazy work.
no, no. And I said 1,000 acres plus in these markets, kind of high level this pricing criteria. And so, um, I for people that don't read, I know that I
Yeah,
can't trust them to do business,
yeah.
just because I mean, it's an extremely extensive process of like we're working on 75,000 acres right now in Colorado, um, and it's
75,000.
75,000 acres in Colorado. Well, 34 plus 41. Yeah, 75,000.
That is crazy, bro.
And we're not going to acquire all of it, and we're renegotiating on the 41,000 to probably take down 16 or 12,000 of it. Just because there's deeded land and leased land and all sorts of complexities, and then the other one tomorrow we're meeting on for the 34,000 deeded acres. But there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into this. I am very transparent in how I operate, but I also have a reputation to maintain, especially whenever I have clients that I'm serving and have a fiduciary
Mhm.
responsibility towards on the broker side of things. And it's just yeah, I mean we're busy, and I really don't like wasting time with the wrong people. I can make the
Right.
right people a lot of money if we work together, but if you waste my time, I just won't work with you in the future.
Yeah.
Not
100%
in
agree.
egotistical way or anything like that. It's just like I don't have time.
Yeah. Now, what does one do with 41,000 acres? Like, what's the plan? I would never, that sounds like an entire state. So, like, what does one do with 41,000 acres, bro?
Yeah, it's an exempt subdivision process. Buyers have been doing this. I've got exclusive agency with them in Colorado. They've been doing this nationwide since the 70s, uh, in a handful of different states where they do the most simple subdivision process, but they have to be ridiculously large properties in order to justify it. I mean, we're having an event on Saturday. They're flying out 20 of their team members from their office in New Hampshire uh, to put on the sales event. And like in Colorado, for instance, you're exempt from all subdivision regulations when you're keeping lots at 35 acres or larger. It also means you're exempt from water rights studies. You can get a domestic well on the land without, having to have a conveyance or, of water rights. Uh, so
Mm,
it's really easy to do. Like you're still gonna have to grade in roads and everything like that because you can't just do like paper lots and then market them as something they're not.
mm,
Electric extension will happen and everything too, but it's large ranch communities, um,
mm.
and they do it kind of nationwide in a handful of different states. Texas, they're a little capped out right now. Um, but I mean, they've deployed, I think, $40 million into the projects they've got going on in Texas. So it's big, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a little bit nuanced, but people are the same. Whether you're negotiating 8-figure deals
Mm.
or 5-figure deals, humans are humans. And just learn how people work, and you can be really successful with it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Congrats on that, brother. You need to this needs to be not even an HGTV show. This needs to you need to adopt the name Landman because that is some crazy, amazing work that you're doing.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, man. And the mineral people, they're interesting too. We're buying a portfolio of land. We actually just went under contract minutes ago. 17 lots in Colorado from a bunch of landmen that they go in, they kind of sever the mineral rights out, and then they're done with it. So we're taking all the surface rights of it and just flipping it. But
Well,
there's money in minerals, but I don't know what I'm doing. Besides that gold mine I bought, which I don't know what I'm doing with that.
so now okay, so how do you balance? Are you like serious or you're speaking figuratively? You don't know what you're doing.
I mean, like it depends on what you mean by that. Like I don't think I know anything about land and uh
Because the
but
reason I asked that is it's like, okay, with these massive types of deals, right? Like, where does one go to get the education on how to execute those type of massive deals? So that way they're not wasting people's time. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think it depends. I say this and I'm a hypocrite, so don't listen to me. Like it's I'm very specific with what I do, and most of that is, within just the few markets that I operate in. With the exception that if I'm making a bet that's so asymmetric that I can't say no. Like the only reason I bought that gold mine in Alaska is because, we bought it for 30 grand and we've got it listed at 700. So it's like I don't care. The I can spend 30 grand on a bet that has that much upside, even if it takes a few years to sell. Um, in terms of getting the education, like there's trial by fire, obviously, of you just have to transact enough of you do the dozens and hundreds and thousands of land deals and you really start understanding all the nuances that go into a property. And then I'm on the Realtors Land Institute track to become an accredited land consultant. So they have a good amount of education through RLI, specific for realtors that really know land. And regardless of if you're a realtor, there's a lot of useful information, available out there to do it. Read books on land development. There's a podcast called the Land Development Podcast that I really enjoy. They get a little bit more technical, and then I think getting involved in the local home builders association has been huge for me. It's like $800 a year. They have the annual conference. It's in Orlando next year. It's usually in Vegas. You get to network with people that are doing this at a level that is like much, much higher. So, become an expert in the product. There's read books. Reading books is always a good start. And I don't mean the people,
Immersing yourself.
yeah, don't, just read the books like Dirt Rich is a great one for like figuring out land flipping, but see if I have it up here. Uh People act like this is a new strategy. How to Make a Fortune in Real Estate, the Land Game. This was published this is the 1980 edition, originally
What?
published in 1970. It's all the same shit we're doing today.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not new.
Mason, who's that author? I was trying to see. You put it down too
It's
fast.
Albert Winikoff, Winnikoff. Let me see if I can find it. I had to get it from some weird like online used bookstore. Um, but I mean, people have been doing this forever. Um, yeah, there's options from used bookstores online.
Oh, I just found it on Amazon.
Um,
The fact that this was printed in 1970 is crazy.
yeah.
I read books from the 50s, man. Actually, my two top books that I read, look at the color. Look at the color of this book. This was white in the 50s. So
There you go.
this book is called two books that I read. It's more psychology. These are psychologists. Games People Play. Have you noticed that in every single conversation, somebody says something that triggers a different response? Oh, if it wasn't for my wife, I'd do this deal. Or, I would do this, but that little thing on your contract says this, and yeah, I'm out. Right? They'll say things just to get out of a conversation, and these old time psychologists, you know, they're pretty broke. I mean, these scientists and stuff like, so they're just giving away all this information of human nature. This other book is transactional analysis, and so it's really how to understand people. And yeah, but these books, they're not in production. I go to all the used bookstores and I find them and I buy them and I give it to people.
Oh yeah. I mean that
Yeah.
that right there of like understanding it's all human behavior. I mean, you can learn almost everything you possibly can just about the product, which that's the baseline. Like understand the product, whether your houses or multifamily or land or whatever. Like you really, really have to understand um, the asset class that you're operating in and every single aspect of due diligence that you can ever imagine. But then everything after that is just human psychology. Like if you like that, one of my favorite authors, Jay, is it's Robert Sapolsky. He wrote Behave, which is kind of the neuroscience of human behavior, and then also wrote Determined, which is kind of biological predeterminism. But I think it's just like Behave is one of my favorite books. It's funny where it's like I was neuroscience for undergrad, and I'm like, this was my whole undergraduate major in one book. If I had had this book in college, uh, class would have been a lot easier. But yeah, the more you understand about human motivation, human behavior, the more beneficial it is because you can craft scripts on everything. So it's fun reading stuff like that, and you know, also reading goofy stuff like The Wolf of Wall Street and stuff. You know, Jordan Belfort stuff. It's all connected.
Mhm.
Okay, Jay, don't forget to put that in the chat because I'm going to go to Half Price Bookstore, look them up.
Yeah, so where I live, there's a place called Wonder Book. Man, it's a maze of different books that you never see anymore, but they sell
Oh,
them for like $2.95 and they sell them for like $5. And actually, I sometimes find some really hidden gems where I'll buy a book that's not even something I'm interested in, but I'll go on Amazon or I'll go on eBay and I'll see what the price is on eBay. And for example, I bought books at $2 and I've sold them for $200.
no way.
Yeah, so I flip books all the
Oh,
time. That's one
you
thing
flip.
I always.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Wow. This is like a gym podcast episode. My man's
This-
$2 book to $200.
I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it seriously. I needed this. I really did. You guys came at the right time. Oh, now people are joining us, so I don't have you all to myself. Okay, well,
Yeah, I think we had a late crowd today, but it's okay. The more, the merrier.
I came in a little later. What was your original question in the beginning? I overheard something, but then I think I came in like 5 minutes late.
oh,
Carl.
and I was asking
okay.
about, marketing, how to, because I've been cold calling and of course, I don't not making much traction. And so I just wanted some ideas of what I could do to accelerate it.
I can give you an idea.
Okay.
How are your typical cold calls going?
They want to way too much money, like 5 or 10 times way too much money.
Are you cold calling them or are you follow up? What's your process? You got a list, you're calling the list
Yeah.
and
I'm calling a list and it's in Ohio and Tennessee. And so I'm calling them and they want way too much money. I mean, I'm using the land portal for a little bit and then looking at Zillow for comps and they're nowhere near it. And so I thought maybe if I look for a real estate, a realtor that's, realtor friendly and not realtor friendly, investor friendly in those states, maybe they can give me some insight of what's going on. There was one guy, he wanted, remember Francisco, the guy that had that, it was a huge slope, an extreme slope. And the
Mhm.
price he was wanting for it, was pretty good. And I tried to get under contract. He said, no, I want the money first. I'm not signing a contract till after I get the money. He's an older gentleman, and so I thought I was so close. And that was a big letdown.
Yeah, so you definitely don't want to have anybody receive any money to sign any contract.
Exactly. And I explained it to him, but he said, no, no, I want the money. I said, sir, that's not how it works. And I was very gentle and kind, but I let it go. You know, I didn't want to
I
keep at
think
it.
that could also be the problem, Carla. We're nice people, right? I cry at Disney movies. The issue is that sellers are liars, right? And it's true. I
Mhm.
just had to cancel a contract. This seller sold me this piece of land like a steak dinner. And because on this same exact road, there's ground up construction in the 500 to $600,000 range, and there's also manufactured homes that just recently sold, three of them on that same strip that sold for 330, 340, and one for 345 from one person. And the guy's like, yeah, I keep getting calls on this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, sir, well, let's get it under contract, and I'm gonna do my due diligence, and we'll figure that out. If it all checks out, then I'm buying it. I got it under contract for 50,000 and called the county. The county says it's in a wetlands. The county says I need to elevate it 2 feet. I need to bring in dirt, and it's gonna cost roughly about $35,000 to get all of it done. And they said that that specific corner also has a natural gas line going right through it. So, the seller wasn't, he wasn't telling me that, he wasn't being honest on that piece of land. And most sellers do that, right? Because they go into salesman mode.
Okay.
So sometimes you have
Okay.
to ask the hard questions.
Oh, okay. Okay. But now I don't feel so bad. Because he was just insisting on that. I said, sir, that's not how it works. And then there's one guy, he wanted 500,000. There's nowhere near that amount. I said, one guy said he wanted another piece of land in Victoria, Texas for 300,000. And he said, well, I say that to keep people from calling me back. And I thought, because it's worth like a fraction of that, of course. And so we're talking and talking, and then I see some other stuff. I think it's near a substation. So that's why I was asking, is there a particular type of buyer that I would need to look for that may be looking for to build a data center or something like that? Or how do you know when you get something like that? You know, like if you can really get it under contract and really get some substantial money for it. Because a different type of buyer would get it. How do I market to them? That kind of thing.
Are you marketing to a big list of different, or I'm very hyper focused on what I'm looking for. And I'm pretty sure Mason is as well. I've seen him. He has when he says he has a buy box, it's like, he's like the only person doing it. Like,
Yeah.
he's very specific. So I think you might have to narrow it down a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
I agree with that. I think sometimes opportunities will fall on your lap, and that's nice. And the the core the top core value we have in our company is transparency, and just be honest with the seller of like, look, this is what's intriguing to me about your land, and as you get to know them and understand what their motivations are, you can say, look, this is what I think of. I think the best route here would be try and find someone that would be looking to build a data center or potentially, a solar plant because it's within X number of miles of a substation, and, solar leases are paying, pretty well. So if it's okay with you, I'd love to, you tell me how much you want for your land, and I'm going to go out and market it for you and try and find a buyer. And if I can get anything above that, then that's my win. And if I can get anything at all, then I'll just come back to you and say, hey, this is what it is. And then you can kind of create an assignment fee from there, where it's, if they know what your intentions are, you're going to be more likely to be able to do the deal rather than if you're trying to like hide something from one person or another. Because just like most people aren't your seller in this space. I mean, we ask qualifying questions all the time of whenever they won't give us a price, we'll say, and say we know their land is worth 50 grand, of like, look, are you trying to sell your land for like 10 grand and move it really, really quickly? Or are you trying to get like $1 million and just create these ridiculous bands of like, yeah, I'm trying to get this much or something like that. And then you kind of move back into it. And Carlo, you said someone would say, oh, I'm trying to sell my land for 300 grand. And you say, okay, fantastic. So if I were to give you 300 grand today, would you actually sell it? Or are you just making that number up because you're trying to get me off your back?
Mm.
And I think, the more kind of tricks you can have of just like getting them to say the number that they actually want for it. And then you determine what value you're adding to the equation. Because if you're not actually buying it, if you're just trying to wholesale it, then the only value you're adding to the equation is by connecting the buyer and seller. And you need to be transparent there, or one, you're going to get sued. Two, it's not a sustainable business model because eventually wholesaling will go away. And three, it just ethically, like you're going to feel better about doing the deal of like you're actually helping bridge the gap there. And that's what you get paid for.
Oh my God. Okay, so starting out then, where do I start? Because I don't have that kind of money to buy the deal, right? So where would I get that?
I
And
think,
that's questions for both of you guys.
yeah, I mean, I think Jay was kind of alluding to it of like you need, I mean, start first with the market that you're going to do business in because there's too many nuances and too many market specific due diligence items that you're going to have as versus trying to do this shotgun approach. And find that market. You know, there's going to be indicators there of like, are you trying to do residential? If so, you know, make sure that there's new construction going on, that builders are working in the area. And then from there, get in contact with the builders, ask them what their buy box is of like all these people, DR Horton, Lennar is different. They're shifting their model a little bit, but they all have land acquisition people, whether it's a small, medium, or large size builder. So you can get that list by either A, just filtering on Zillow or Redfin of look at what new construction is selling, see who built that product, and then find them that way. B, the local home builders association, every single one is going to have a directory specific by general contractor or by builder. That's going to give you a lot of the more medium, you know, small to medium sized builders, both custom and semi-custom and spec builders. Call every single one of them, figure out what their buy box is, reverse engineer that, and then, you know, pull all the data. Sign up for PropStream or whatever land, you know, site, you know, data site you're getting. PropStream's $100 a month for 25,000 records. I know everyone has every fancy software on the planet. I've used PropStream for 5 years now. It works. And then download it, skip trace them. You know, I mean, you can use whatever software you want or go on to Upwork or Fiverr, you know, and hire a VA that's going to skip trace all of them for you. Be, you know, 3 to 8 cents a record. And you could get started for as little as, you know, a few $100. Like you have to spend some money. And then call every single person on that list, or handwrite mailers to them. Like if you don't want to spend money, or, you know, too much money on a bunch of mailers. And then, yeah, and then just negotiate, you know, use all the tactics that we talk about to, you know, get it under contract and say, hey, I've got a buyer client that can, you know, pay up to this much money for it. You know, so for it to make sense, I need to get it at this much, or however you want to frame the conversation. And that's how you start a land wholesaling business.
That I think we're done here. I think that was it. That's a wrap.
That's like the chef kiss. I'm like,
That made me my first $75,000 in the land space. Literally just going through the list of the builders directory, and I just kept calling them, asking their buy box, and all I did was connect the wholesalers to them. Like I got a wholesaler's deal under contract. I double closed it, sold it to the builder, or I just started putting bandit signs in the area where I'm looking for land. Also, there's some land where you just can't find the seller. You know what I tend to do, and I don't recommend it to anyone. So hopefully, well, this is recorded. It is what it is.
No one take any of our advice.
Don't take any of our advice. But if you ever try to put a for sale sign on somebody's land, if you want to get somebody's information, put a sign on their yard. They'll call you back. Just make sure it's a burner phone. Call with a different number. Now you got their number. So what I do is that's what I did.
Pretty creative. That is fire, yeah. And then you know what that also makes me think of is imagine all of, you know, skip tracing is a very big thing in the wholesaling community. And I think oftentimes wholesalers don't think about the amount of data that they discard just because they have the wrong number. They have the right address, but have the wrong number to that person. So there's probably like tons of deals that wholesalers are just discarding just because they're not thinking to go the extra step or the extra mile of, well, I have the right address. Let me just find the right contact for this person in my database, right? And that's also another I guess, downside of cold outreach is you're playing a game of probability, hoping that you have the right number to somebody, right? So that's also another thing, Carla, that you got to look at, and also for anybody that you got to look out for as well too. And then also, Carla, you made me think of a question that I want to see if Mason can answer, because a couple weeks ago you had an answer or a question about dealing with slopes, or at least someone did. Mason, I don't know if you guys deal with slopes out there in Colorado, but like, what's
In the
like what?
mountains?
Yeah, like what is someone supposed to look for when dealing with property that has slopes? Because I couldn't answer the question. I've never dealt with any slope properties at all.
Yeah, I mean it's so market specific. It if you confirm, like I assume we're talking about like residential land, like
Hmm.
yeah. So I mean, confirm all the usual suspects of is the property accessible by either private or county maintained road, and then what utilities are in the area, if any, depending on what the end product is, and then it's just look at what's around it. Of if there's no homes being built anywhere on it, it's very, very different. Where, I've done deals in like Larkspur, Colorado, where it's pretty simple. Of like you're building a retaining wall and you have a walkout basement. Some it's just on the side of a cliff and like it's beautiful properties, multi-million dollar properties. And so you're going to be putting more money into the engineering of something like that. And as versus other areas where like, for instance, I lost, was that this year? It was this year or last year. I lost like 17 grand on a deal that I bought, had legal access from a 20-foot easement that was dedicated to it from the original subdivision plat from the 60s. And so there was legal access. Problem was the properties were extremely sloped, and in order to actually create physical access that was allowed by the county, you'd have to do a switchback driveway, which just means like you're going sideways up, and like just like if you're hiking, in the national parks and stuff. And there wasn't enough road dedicated from the easement to be able to actually do like an effective switchback driveway. Ended up selling it to the neighbor for a loss, whatever, it happened. So it really depends. If there's houses built on the side of the cliff next to it, that's probably a good indicator that the slope is a non-issue. If there's not, there maybe is an issue to it. So it's really just an engineering question.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Mason. Chris, go ahead. You got a question?
Yeah, that's been a while since I've, I guess, been in here and seen you on, Mason. Is your business model still, you guys are still buying up large parcels of land and subdividing and
Yeah, I mean
what's
we
that?
we kind of do everything. You know, I'm buying right now 17 lots throughout the state of Colorado. Some are really good, some are duds, but we're getting them at such a discount. We're not going to do any improvements. We might do some legal action on one of them, to grant an easement by necessity. It's like in the nicest subdivision south of Denver, and it's like in the middle of their park. Like I drove the property and like family was like fishing on it. It's like lakefront.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just sell it to the HOA, but we could do something there that could 20x the value. So
Yeah.
simple land flips, large subdivisions, and then still fund deals where it makes sense, for other people. And then I'm a broker as well. I think it was time to vertically integrate in the business where Carlo was talking about it before. Most people want market price for their land. And
Yeah.
now I can say, perfect, we'll list it for you for market price. So we're, generating listings and representing buyers on the agency side. So that's kind of like all we do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because I've got a verbal agreement um, right now for, well, some of my VAs. They called and brought this lead to me, even though it wasn't like anywhere near the areas um, I was marketing to, but somehow he ended up on the list. This farmer's got 206.2 acres out in Chester County in Tennessee, and it's got about almost 3,500 feet of road frontage. Some clear spots already where it looks like houses could be built. Um, and we have a verbal agreement right now for 400,000. And there's some other houses around it. And it's in the green belt, so the yearly taxes are really low. I'm just wondering. So I've got some other comps on here. There was like another, I think 108 acres sold for 265, which was the lowest priced comp I could find. And then there were some more that were 5,000 an acre, like similar farmland. So I'm under contract, or will be under contract for just shy under 2,000 an acre. I'm wondering if I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that as far as dispo?
Yeah, I mean, what I would do is, you know, treat it like a project of, okay, here's what we're getting it under contract for. What's the highest and best use of the land within like a certain fees, for an exit within, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. And then kind of go down the rabbit hole of what the subdivision regulations are of, okay, does it make sense to do a value add here? Of, should I split it into 2010? What'd you say, 200 acres?
206, yeah.
Yeah, so 2010s or 1020s or 540s or whatever it is, based on like a quick lot split if it's allowed in that particular area. So look at the minor subdivision regulations, look at the exempt subdivision regulations, use ChatGPT and say, hey, this is property that I've got. If I wanted to split it into the smallest lots possible as quickly as possible, what does that look like? And then, ask the question of, does it make sense of, could I just flip it for double my money and sell it for 800 grand on market? Or 600 grand on market. So kind of walk through all the different scenarios of value add, and then submit it to a deal funder. Make sure you have enough time in the contract to be able to kind of figure all this out. Like I wouldn't do like a 3-week close or anything. Like I'd do a 60 or 90-day close, so you can kind of do all the research.
Yeah, right now we've got a verbal of a 90-day due diligence.
Perfect. Yeah. And so, do all that research yourself, submit it to us. If it's like a double or triple your money deal, that's something that we would fund all day. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, you're going to get at least half the profits depending on who you're submitting it to. Where if you can split it into, uh, you know, 2010s or whatever it is, and then it's worth 10 grand an acre. You might have to do some level of improvement or something like that. You start being able to make a lot more money doing 1 or 2 projects a year rather than 100. But yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay. Yeah, I'll need to dive in and do a little bit more research and see. I did talk to the county. I didn't ask about subdivision regulations, which I should have, but
Yeah, I mean, if you type in whatever county subdivision regulations, or like I said, make sure you're paying for it, but use ChatGPT and say, hey, what are the subdivision regulations in this county? Is there an exempt subdivision process? What does that look like? Is there a minor subdivision process? What does that look like?
when you say exempt, what is that terminology?
Typically it means that all you're going to have to do is get a surveyor to draw a plat map and record it. Like there's no meetings with the planning and zoning commission or anything like that. You're exempt from the regulations of subdivision because you're keeping the parcels so large. So, in Tennessee, I have no idea what it would be. I've only done a handful of deals out there and they've all just been flips. But maybe it's 50 acres. If you could split it into, 4 50-acre tracts, and all you need is a surveyor to go out, draw the new lot lines, create the new legal descriptions, submit it to the recording department, get new parcel numbers and then go off and resell those. But talking to someone at planning and zoning will be able to, do that. And then ChatGPT should be able to help you out too, doing a little bit of the research for you.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'll go down that rabbit hole and see what happens.
Sweet. Yeah, good job. I mean, that could be a great one.
Good stuff.
Hey, Mason, this is Carla. Real quick. Now, you mentioned something about improvements. So what type of improvements would need to be, what are you speaking of when you say you may or may not do improvements to land?
Yeah,
What
I mean, you could define that however you want. Of sometimes it's taking something big and making it smaller. I've taken some down, but like you can see, those are a bunch of subdivisions and plat maps there where you're buying the ranch, selling it by the pasture. Some of it you could install a well on, some you can do a septic system on, or just getting a perk test done, or just clearing the land, getting the trees off of it. I mean, shoot, we did that timber deal back in July or June or July. That was bought some land, sold it to a timber company. Was one of the easiest things. I think we bought it for 175, sold it for 290. 30-day turnaround, pretty easy deal because they just valued it as inventory. So sometimes it makes sense to clear the land, sometimes it doesn't. We're looking at funding a deal in Oklahoma where we'd have to grade in a driveway. It depends. Some level of horizontal improvement, typically, though.
Well, that one I was telling you about that was in Tennessee, he has a lot of trees on it. And that's the one that had an extreme slope, so I didn't know. It was something like that.
How big is it?
It was, I believe it's 20, it's just 20 acres. It's just 20 acres.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would first and foremost look at the comps, see, what's selling close by. If any of the neighboring parcels have sold close by, that's great. Call local timber companies and ask if they're, looking for land too, if it's very heavily wooded.
Mm-hmm.
If it's soft or hardwood. I mean,
Oh,
there's potentially opportunities. 20 acres usually is too small. But
okay.
you could get them to come clear, pay, and they'll pay you for the wood. If that's something that's desired. But I mean, with everything, what I always say, like talk to a local realtor, talk to whoever's selling land out there and get an opinion of value from them. It's going to be so much more valuable than, any insight that we can have not being locals.
Okay. And in your school group, I saw where somebody put a link in there to find, somebody was trying to find local realtors in a certain area. So that was, I'll use that.
Yeah. That's the ALC search, or the accredited land
Yes, that's
consultant
it.
search. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just be honest with them. Because a lot of realtors have a bad view of investors. Because most investors, it'll be like, hey, can you comp this land for me? I don't have it under contract or anything like that. Just be super honest with them. Say, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find a realtor that will work with me on listing every single property that I work with out here. And I always say it, even before I was a realtor, is like, I'm happy to compensate you for your time. I've never actually had to pay a realtor for doing a CMA for me. But I think them just hearing that you appreciate the amount of time that they're going to devote to you is worth it. Usually will make them do it a lot more.
Oh, okay.
So
Good stuff, guys. Any final questions before we wrap up? Had a really good call today. Thank you guys for coming on.
Oh, this has been a huge value. I just absolutely love it. I mean, a lot of things that I had questions about, it's just been answered. It's really helpful. So I really appreciate this.
And also, real quick, Mason, can you drop the link to your school group?
yeah, for sure. Pull it up.
Mason, aren't you guys meeting in a little bit, or or is this the right day?
Yep. Yeah, we do a twice monthly support call happening in 11 minutes. So I had Tuesdays are my content days. I had a little bit of time. I try to hop on this one when I can, which is usually, every month or two. But yeah, every other Tuesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay.
Amount of time, which is what, 3
This-
o'clock our time, right?
And then 2 o'clock Central.
Gotcha.
I'm Central, I'm Texas.
There you go.
Sweet. All righty, guys. So we can go ahead and wrap up a little bit early, and we'll see you guys same time, same place next week, Tuesday. All right.
Bye, y'all.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.